Hi everybody, this is the baseball highlight, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion, your host, and here we are back, and we're now in the midst of a full-scale fire sale, full-scale rebuild by the New York Mets. But before we get into this video, there's so much, this is my second take on this video, there's so much that happened in this trade deadline for the New York Mets. I need you to subscribe to the channel. Also need you to subscribe to the Prospect Hut, because I'm going to be talking about prospects from now until the end of the year, and hopefully you'll go over there and subscribe. I'll put the link in the description of this video. So much has happened. My goodness. Obviously, the Mets played so poorly that the front office and ownership have decided to basically get rid of everybody. They haven't gotten rid of everybody. There's a few pieces, there's a few guys here that need to get the hell out of here. Vogelback, Carrasco, I know that's about it, but they moved out of this team 7 players, 7 veteran players, 4 of which were part of the Mets' 101 win team last year. Now, we are in the midst of a fire sale. Max Scherzer was doing an interview, and he said that Billy Epler said that they're not going to really bring in any big players in 2024, and that they're going to look to 25 and 26 as they're coming back out party. I'll say this, I am a big prospect guy, and the biggest reason is just the foundation of your team. If you build a team around veteran players, you're going to have to deal with injuries, age, lousy attitude sometimes with these these veterans sometimes. Although this team wasn't bad in that way, just they didn't gel. Something was wrong about this team from the very beginning, quite frankly. And now that we're past the trading deadline. Let's go through all the stuff we're going through here. I have my list here on the side of players that were moved. It began a month ago when the Mets moved Eduardo Escobar. They traded him for Coleman Crow, Landon Marcel, 2 right-handed pitchers. Crow is not pitching right now. Right now he is on the injured list. Landon Marcel is pitching. They're both starters. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, Crow comes back from the injured list. And he's considered a high prospect now with the Mets, top 20, I guess. Same thing with Marceau. And Escobar went. That should have been the first salvo on this team that there was an issue. We've known since May, that this team wasn't good. This team had a problem. It just wasn't good enough anymore, and it was old. That age crept up on them. Then, on Thursday, and they had the worst June in the history of this team. Then on Thursday, the Mets traded David Robertson to the Marlins. And a lot of people were annoyed with that. But they got a couple of prospects to help them out in the trade. Then, because of that, Max Scherzer had to have a discussion with the Met front office and Met ownership. And they admitted to him that they were going to rebuild, essentially. They said retooling, but this is a rebuild, folks. I can tell you. This is a rebuild for the New York Mets. I don't know what's going to happen with other pieces, but we'll get to that at the end of the video. So, on Saturday, Scherzer got traded. Got traded to the Texas Rangers. And the Mets were very lucky to pick up a big prospect, and Luis Angel Acuna, the brother of Ronald Acuna Jr. And he could be an elite prospect. He could be a superstar prospect, a superstar player. We'll see. He is a shortstop, but he's probably going to play either second base or center field at some point in the future. I don't know what's going to happen with his in terms of his position, where he's going to play in the field. But he's got a chance to be a very good player. Mets got some very good players, from these trades. And Acuna will be the guy that leads this group. On MLB.com, he is the number 2 best prospect in the Mets farm system right now. I'm sure that will change as we get further along. Then, yesterday, Mark Hanna got traded. He got traded to Milwaukee for a prospect called Justin Jarvis. Who's now like the 13th best prospect in the Mets organization now. He's a right-handed pitcher. The back end of the rotation guy. Maybe pitches this year. He's in AAA right now. Probably all likely next year. Mark Hanna now has to review cheese and sausage and bratwurst and probably sauerkraut too, after having to review all the sort of fifi shishi restaurants here. So he's going to have very much of a different, bit of a culture shock for him. Then earlier this afternoon, Justin Verlander got traded. There's a lot of sort of going back and forth where he was going to go. The Braves checked in. The Dodgers checked in. The Dodgers didn't want to budge on what the Mets wanted. The Padres checked in. The Baltimore Orioles were deep in talks with the Mets, and I don't know what they sort of broke down. But ultimately, Verlander wanted to go back to Houston, so that didn't happen. So he went to Houston. Mets got two very interesting prospects. One is a center fielder. His name is Drew Gilbert, and he is a center fielder. And as word came out, his comparisons are to that of Lenny Dykstra or Brett Gardner. Now, we know with them as players, those guys were high-energy guys. They were pepper pots. But, Gilbert, the word is that he hits for more power. He's a high-energy guy, gets his uniform dirty. I think we're really going to like him. And I'll have a scan report on all these players on the prospect hut. And I'll put the link in the description. And they picked up Ryan Clifford. Now, he might be a better prospect than Gilbert. I mentioned about Gilbert real quickly. He's the number one pick from last year's draft. Clifford is a big prospect. He's 20 years old. He's probably 2 years away. But he could be a better player than Gilbert. Then a little while ago, the Mets traded Tommy Pham. We knew that was going to happen. He went to Arizona for a prospect, a shortstop prospect, who's 17 years old. His name is Jeremy Rodriguez. He's the 47th best international prospect that was just recently signed. So he's from the 2023 draft. He's 6 years away. He's going to get better. We're going to forget about him. And then a little while ago, which was a couple surprises at the end of the trade deadline. One is Dominic Leone got traded, which we hadn't heard. And he went to the Angels for a 23-year-old second baseman named Jeremiah Jackson, who was considered the ninth best prospect in the Angels organization. Going through his scouting report, he's a utility guy. He's got a little bit of power. He's had a lot of home runs in the minor leagues, I gotta say. His hit tool is a little, it's not 50, it's 45 out of 80. His power is about 50. He's got, like I said, a lot of home runs. And then they made a cash deal. They sent money to the Dodgers for Phil Bickford, and these are relievers, and Adam Kolarek. Kolarek has been in the Mets organization. I mentioned about Verlander. The Mets took on $54 million. $54 million. Believe that? And what was the amount on Scherzer that they sent? Crazy. And as you know, they made that trade for Trevor Gott as well. So the Mets have sort of been extremely active. They've basically almost broken the whole entire thing down. Now, there's been a lot of words spoken about what's been going on here. One of the things, the future of Pete Alonso is going to be up in the air, probably going into the off season. And I think Jeff McNeil could be in trouble too. I think McNeil could get traded too. Now McNeil has a 5-year contract, which is in the first year of, but his money is not crazy. I would not be surprised if McNeil gets moved. I would not be surprised if Pete gets moved. I think Pete could get moved, or they'll sign him to a long-term deal. It's very similar to the offseason 2020 and 2012, when the Mets had a choice. They were either going to sign David Wright or sign R.A. Dickey, and one of them was going to get moved based off the one that signed. So that offseason, the Mets signed David Wright. They moved R.A. Dickey. This offseason, if they don't sign Pete, they'll move Pete as part of this rebuild, because that would be an enormous a get for the Mets. But I think they want to keep him. But if this team is not going to be good until 2026, Pete Alonso will be 31 years old. And Jeff McNeil will be 34 years old. So are you going to keep these two guys here into 2026? I don't know. Are they going to want to wait around and play with these kids while the team is losing? We know how frustrated McNeil gets. That's just to him as an example. But we're gonna have to just sort of gut through the last 2 months. This team is going to be bad, because now they've lost two big pieces in their rotation. For whatever players they've been and how they pitched here, they're still Hall of Fame pitchers. They're still pros. And now the Mets are going to have to have guys like Carlos Carrasco on this team pitching every 5 days, pitching badly, unless the Mets decide to release him. But this is going to be a tough team to watch. Don't be surprised if this team now loses 90 games, 95 games, and finishes in last, which would not be a bad thing, because then they would put themselves in a stratosphere of trying to be a lottery team. Because now we get the draft lottery in Major League Baseball. We didn't have that before. We have that now. So the Mets might want to be a top 5 bad team to get a good draft pick. And I think the 2024 draft is not a bad one coming up. That might be a very interesting one. Jack Tani is going to be in there, who's the American version of Shohei Ohtani, who's a left-handed pitcher and a big hitter that pitches and plays for Florida. But yeah, this is a rebuild. I think there's no denying that now. The Mets have begun a rebuild. That's not a bad thing, but when you spend as much money as this owner has, it is tough to swallow. However, a player to keep an eye on with the Mets, if they want to go down this route, is Yamamoto from Japan. The Mets can use, they can put money, he's going to be posted. He's not going to be a free agent like Senga is. He will be posted. And if he's posted, the Mets will not be outbid, and they will have a chance to sign him. I know they're very interested in him. And he is considered to be better than Senga. And maybe you sign a middle rotation guy. Maybe you sign an Aaron Nola. Maybe you talk to him and say, look, we're not going to be good next year, but we want you to be part of this organization for 5 years. Are the Mets willing to do that? The Mets willing to sign a big a contract to a guy like him? I don't know. But we're going to have to find out. But I think that to sort of do this course correction is a jolt to a lot of people. It is to me. I wasn't expecting this. I said they weren't going to do a rebuild, but this is a rebuild. You know, when you bring in all these prospects and you trade 2 guys that, you know, I did say, you know, when you have guys that are this old, you're going to have questions about their health going into next year, and their reliability, their ability to be able to take the mound every 5 days for 6 months. That was a question the Mets were going to have to answer, and I don't think they wanted to deal with that. And when Scherzer once Robinson got moved, Scherzer was going to say, you know what, I want out of here. And you knew once that happened, Verlander was probably like, I want out of here too. You think about it. Let's still have a good shortstop, even though I'm half and half on him. Let's have a good first baseman with big power. Mets have one of the best young catchers in baseball. The Mets have a good starter in Kodai Senga. They have the best closer in baseball. This should not be a complete total teardown. They have a very good center fielder. So this is not a situation where this is a 90-loss team next year. This team can still win 80 games next year. It's just not a championship team. But this team wasn't a championship team this year. So you're not really losing anything. You're losing face. It's basically what you're losing here. Now, the Mets have a better farm system now. And people have been saying, why didn't they bring in pitchers? Why didn't they bring more pitchers in here? They've done that in the past. I've heard this, I think the broadcast said this. In 2017, when they were bad, what was Sandy's reaction? Is he traded relievers for relievers, and that didn't work out. So you try to get the best talent you can. I believe you develop your relievers, because a lot of times relievers are usually failed starters anyway, in my view. But this is a tough pill to swallow. I mean, I think we all thought the Mets were going to go to postseason. I didn't think they were going to win 100 games this year. To be honest with you, I was surprised they won as many games as they did last year. I didn't think they were going to win 90 games last year. I didn't think they were going to win 90 games this year. But to see how poorly they played, especially in June, it was so bad. And to see this team sort of just they just didn't give a shit. You could feel it. I mean, as a fan, you could feel it, that they didn't care. And you saw it, and you felt it. And if they feel like that, then the ownership and the front office saw that. Now, a couple of things. David Stearns is going to be here. He's going to be running this team. And I think that's why they got rid of some of these guys. And just brought in just young talent. And we'll see what he wants to do. Because the Mets need a man that's going to run this organization, this baseball front office, in a different way than say they got nobody here. They have no president of baseball operations. I would assume that Stearns will be the guy. I would think, just off the top of my head, I would not be surprised now Buck Showalter were gone. Because he came here wanting to build a team that was going to win a championship. And he looked very disappointed. When they had him on TV a little while ago, I saw SNY, he looked extremely disappointed in the direction that this team is going in. And I think that says it all. And I think he will not be the manager here. I would probably think that Craig Counsell will be the manager here. He's a younger guy, and that I would think that that's what direction this team is probably going to go in, to be honest with you. Somebody outside the organization. It can't be somebody in the organization. I don't think it's going to be Eric Chavez. I don't think it's going to be Carlos Beltran. It'll be somebody outside who's got some weight to him as a manager. And I think Craig Counsell will be the manager of the Mets, to be honest with you. How he handles the big city, that's another story. Who the hell knows? But the rebuild has begun. And the New York Mets are all in, unfortunately. So, thank you for watching this video. Of course, please check out and subscribe to the Prospect Hut. I didn't think this was going to happen. And this channel is just going crazy. And I need you to make it go crazy even more. Subscribe to it. And let me know what you think. So, but of course, subscribe to the Baseball Hut as well. And like this video. And thank you for watching. And I'll see you later.